Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Film Trooper Presents Film Marketing Fridays here on a live Google Hangout session. I'm not too sure if you're able to hear me when I was yapping over the music. But yeah, again, welcome. Let me see here. Go back to my fat face. Hey, where's my toolbar? So happy Friday. And yeah, where is this thing? I want that. Sorry, guys. Here we go. There we go. My name is Scott McMahon. I'm a fellow film trooper. And yeah, I like to put on these live hangouts like pretty much every other Friday. Sorry, my headphones came out. And just try to come up with some real practical tips for film marketing for the uber independent filmmaker. And today we're going to talk about list building because one of the main things that pretty much all the expert marketers tell us to do, and all the experts out there in the indie film blogs and so on, the new catchphrase is like, build your audience. You got to build your audience. But what does that mean? And how does how does even like list building apply to building your audience? I do have the Q&A app up and running on the Google Hangout if you want to just throw me any questions while I'm going through this. But we'll get right into it. Let's get on to the slideshow. As I click on this thing, and I click on this thing, and then I got to present this to everybody. Okay, so let's get right into it. So the first thing is we're building on our audience. And we're building our audience for our film, our uber independent film. When I say uber independent, this means like we don't have any connections to anybody like in Hollywood. No connections with a sales agent, no connections with a distributor, nothing. It's just like you and your buddies, or some talent professionals in your area, in your city that if you live outside of Hollywood. I live up here in Portland, Oregon. We moved from away from Southern California a couple of years ago, so that sort of gave me the courage and confidence that you could make a film and put it online and sell it to an audience worldwide. And one of the first things you do is try to build your audience. So, but why do you do this? Why are all the experts telling us to do this? One, if you have direct access to your audience, you have direct access to selling to them. And that's pretty much as basic as it gets, because there's no middlemen required when you're dealing directly with your audience. So that means no distributors, no sales agents, etc. And Jason Brubaker over at filmmakingstuff.com says, he always has this motto. He always says that, filmmaking is not your business. Your business is your audience. So your audience is your business. So continuing with what he's saying, let's take a look at this graphic. It's pretty simple. You have you got a ponytail and an awesome mustache and beard, and you're trying to get to your audience. But there's, inherently throughout, the history of film, as much as we know it, majority of it, we've had to deal with the middlemen. Like they had access to dispersing our film on a wide scale to an audience. But when you remove the middlemen and you're just trying to get to the audience directly, but how do you do this? When they say build your audience, well, how do you do this, in today's digital world? And the thing about what we're talking about is list building, and specifically to email. So using email marketing. So let's go on to list building. Building an email list is the single best way to communicate with your audience, period. Better than Facebook, better than Twitter, better than ads, because you own it, because it is a relationship of mutual trust and opt-ins. That is why you need to build one. And this comes from Ryan Holiday. He's an author of Growth Hacker Marketing and several other books. And I'll talk a little bit more about Ryan later on in this presentation. Also, there's a link when you download this PDF. When I provide the link to you, you can get this whole presentation and grab all the links I'm talking to you about. So continue with list building. I use MailChimp. And so what you need to do if you're trying to build an email list or an email list platform, you need an email provider that that allows you to put out scheduled emails, put out email lists, email blast out to like several thousands of people at once, or what it does is sort of staggers it if you need to. Because if you're just trying to use sort of your general Gmail account, you'll be coming up against like spamming laws, anti-spam laws. And you can only really, I think, realistically send out like 250 emails at a time anyway, if you're just using a general email account. So that's why you want to use sort of an approved service like MailChimp or Aweber, but I like MailChimp just because I like monkeys or something, or chimps. So when you go to MailChimp, they're going to ask you to create a list, and I can kind of show you a little bit about MailChimp here real quick. So if I go over to here, and we share a little bit, share my other part of my screen. First, you got to see my head. That's one thing about Google Hangouts. It's got to go back to my head and go back to there. Okay, here we go. Let's share this. Okay, so now you can see this is like the MailChimp landing page. So all you do, the cool thing is that you can sign up for a free account, but if you want to get sort of the advanced features of MailChimp or an Aweber, you've got to pay. And it's relatively inexpensive, about $10 a month as you're building your email list. And I'll explain a little bit more about what the other features that you would want. But signing up for a service like this, they have all the great tutorials. It's real simple. They have all these video series to help get you started. So I recommend at least jumping on to MailChimp to at least start your email list. You have to have some sort of system in place to start collecting your emails for your film project or your artistic career. So let's see here. Go back to my big head again. And then we go back to the presentation. Look at this. One of these days, this will be a little bit more seamless. All right, so we have the list building. Like I said, I use MailChimp. And then you want to create a list. And then this link within this presentation, when you download it later, will allow you to see the video that MailChimp puts together, how to create your list. Then you want to create a campaign. And a campaign is essentially, what you're calling sort of the opt-in offer to entice people to, add their email list to either your newsletter or some sort of gift or something that you're handing off. And that's what we call the opt-in. And I'll show you a few examples here. But in order to get an opt-in, what the experts are always telling us to do is you got to give over a gift, something that's free. You have to offer something that's valuable, that's in alignment to why they're at your site to begin with. And, they kind of, in quotations, they kind of call it the bribe. So you have to offer something up in order for somebody to give you their email address. And so that is your first, foray into a transaction online. So by offering up some sort of bribe, like a free resource guide or something like that, I'll go into here. Yeah. So most people you see on websites, the ones that do it well, they're either giving away like a free ebook, or they're giving away a free resource guide, or some do a free video series. Something a lot of times is like how-to guides. But if you're in the world of creative filmmaking, or trying to do a narrative filmmaking, perhaps it's like I'm working on a standard sort of paranormal thriller horror film. So what kind of ebook would I be able to give? Maybe I create like an ebook that's like the 10 most haunted places in America. You get that free, or something like that. Like if I was building that list for like a horror film. If you're building a film, like a list for like an action film, or a drama that had a very specific cause in it, you can align these relatively inexpensive or easily put together ebooks or resource guide, and then offer that up on your site in exchange for an email address. So at least somebody's coming in, they get something free, and if they don't enjoy your emails that are sent to them, they can opt out. And that's okay, because you're trying to weed it down to just the true passionate fans, and the true passionate audience that are going to be evangelists for what you're doing and spread the word and be supportive of your, the work that you're doing. So let's see here. So let's say you get it started. You set up your email list, and now you need to figure out like, okay, so now what? Like I've got one or two people coming in, but what kind of emails am I supposed to give them? What do I do at this point? Duh, like I just said that. You have a list, now what? So you need to constantly provide value to them. And you do this through the vehicle of an email. And here's a really quick tip. So in order to understand what kind of value you can offer your targeted audience is go to other blogs that maybe you follow or other blogs that are already ahead of the game in terms of talking about a particular subject. Like I said, if it's a horror film, there's a lot of horror sites or, fan sites about certain horror films, or there's a fan sites about science fiction films or whatever it might be. And then read the comment sections of the blogs, because in that in those comment sections, even either it's on their blogs or it's on Facebook or Twitter, like the conversation that's happening amongst the audience, and somebody bring up a topic, or people just bantering about, the validity of a film or not, like that, whatnot, helps you kind of gauge kind of what the subconscious need is that maybe you can fill or provide a value to them, to maybe answer some of the questions and that they're not getting in the blog, or follow up on certain discussions in these platforms. So that's a really quick tip. Take time reading the comment sections. You'll see a lot of trolls, comments, but that's fine. You can weed it out. Maybe you can learn a lot from the troll comments, but at the same time, there's probably a lot of validity to just comments, even in the YouTube sections of things you follow. Just to get an idea of what people are saying, what's on their mind, and perhaps something that you can offer of value, and do it on a continuous basis through your email campaign. And here's a cool thing about the email marketing world, is how do you be more efficient? How can you be more efficient? Well, they come up with these things called the auto response emails. So the cool thing about like MailChimp or Aweber is this is where you pay money in order to get access to this wonderfully efficient programming of their email platform. Is that you can imagine what happens when somebody comes onto your email list. So let's take a look at that. So what is your subscriber's journey? So let's follow that. So you have somebody who comes to your site and they're attracted to your offer, or they might be attracted to you. I don't know. So the whole point is, like, they're attracted to your offer. And so they're going to be willing to hand over their email address for the free gift you're offering them, an ebook, a resource guide, a video series, or whatever it might be that's in alignment to why they're there in the first place. Now, the experience in getting emails from you should be pleasant. You imagine if I'm a subscriber to your email list, and I enjoyed the free gift I got, and then automatically I get like these automatic emails sent to me. Maybe it's just one to start off with, but they're well written, they're well crafted, and they're in alignment with why I decided to sign up for your email, newsletter, or email updates, and those types of things. So the overall experience is pleasant. So you can imagine that's what you need to provide to your email list. And then they look forward to your valuable emails, as long as they're really valuable. If they're really looking forward to them, then they're going to be more compelled to share it with other people. As long as you're kind of giving them a call to action in your email, the emails that you send to them, by like the end of the emails, like, hey, if you really enjoy whatever I told you or whatever value I gave you, or if you like this video update of what we're working on in our film, please, use these quick share buttons to share it with your friends and others, because you're looking for evangelists. You're looking for people to support you in the most basic way. And so you know what? The cool thing about this, in the process of them being part of your email list, they get to know you. They know who you are. They get to like you, over time. Hopefully they like you, fairly quickly, but over time they might really, really like you. And the best part is they really trust you. If they're with you for a long time, if you have built this email list and you have this communication process with them through your emails, the cool thing about all this, when they know you and they like you and they trust you, is they're probably going to buy from you, So that's important to know, because here's the deal. It takes the same effort. If one person's experience is good through the experience of dealing with your email, as they're on your email list, you have to think to yourself, what happens when you have 10,000 people having a good experience? Well, if it take, the funny thing is it takes the same amount of effort to serve just one person on your email list as it is to serve 10,000 people on your email list. And if you sell your film for $10 and that one person buys it, you make 10 bucks. But imagine if you sold it to 10,000 people. Obviously it's $100,000. So you can kind of see how if you can control the scale of your list, you have a lot of power. So that is why they say build your audience. That's why they say like the email list is very valuable, because you have direct contact and control with your audience. And and some companies actually try to buy people's lists, which is, it's against the law, because when somebody's signing up on your list, they are just trusting you and you alone, not to, sell your information to a third party company. But, some people have tried to do that. So you can see how valuable the list is. Now, here's another question. Now, how do you deal with like growing your list? Okay. Well, one thing you do is just launch products. Anything you're creating, maybe it's like, as you're making your film, like you're going to the first stage of it, like you're writing your script, right? So maybe you can do like, we're going to launch a product or do like an event. We make an event. Maybe we can launch just the a recorded table read of the movie, so that way people get an early taste of what the whole story is going to be like. Or maybe they only get like a snippet of like the first act or something like that. Just something where there's an audience, partaking in the actors, reading your script out loud, something as small as that you can give to your email list. But if you make it an event, then you can advertise that event, or advertise like these, promote them on social media, in terms of like, hey, we've got the first act of our film. It deals with this genre: sci-fi, horror, drama, comedy, whatever it might be. And by launching that product, you can try to get people to come onto your list and grow your list that way. Not only serving the people that are already on your list, but use it to, again, entice other people to come onto your list. You'll see probably online people advertising webinars. Mostly it's for like business related things, like marketing or online marketing webinars. And why they do this is by putting together a webinar, you're making an event and you're bringing people together so that you can take them down like I almost call it like a sales funnel, but it's like a sales pitch per se, which is you're talking about a very specific topic. If you had listened, if you've done your job and listened to what's going on in the comment sections of like Facebook and Twitter and blogs and YouTube, you can maybe develop a webinar that answers very specifically sort of these same questions that people are asking in those comment sections. So when you hold a webinar together and you advertise it on social media, then, the idea is people come in, but in order to join up with the webinar, people, hand over their email address. So a lot of the top marketers, what they'll do is they'll have a webinar, and at the end they'll do a sales pitch, knowing that they're only going to get, maybe they're trying to get like, anywhere from 10 to 20% conversion rate at the end, or sales rate. So anyhow, this is something you can do, because what kind of webinar can you put together for a film project? Again, if it's a very strong genre like horror, comedy, a sci-fi type thing, maybe put like a webinar in together about just celebrating that genre, and then at the end say, hey, now that you've gotten to know me, maybe like me, hopefully trust me, I'm also making a film product that is in the same vein, and you can sign up for my newsletter to learn more about it. So you can use webinars like that to grow your list. You can offer a free video series. Maybe it's like a film about fly fishing. It's like the next sequel to River Runs Through It, and you have a whole series about like how to properly fly fish in the river or something like that. These are types of things you just want to throw out there to gain interest. The other thing you do to grow your list is joint ventures, and this is what's done in business all the time, because there's an old saying, like, if you want to lead a parade, then you just have to step in front of a parade. Meaning, instead of working your way from the back part of the line of the parade and work your way up, just jump in front. And the only way you can jump in front is by, working together and doing a joint venture with somebody who's an influencer, meaning that somebody who already has a blog or has a web presence or already has a lot of influence in the space that you want to be in. So if it's somebody who's already doing a blog on horror films, and they have a very good audience, how can you work with them in a joint venture capacity so that you can just get to the front of the parade faster, to grow your list faster? The way you do this, you offer value to that particular person, that particular influencer. And you have to kind of figure out like what value that you can offer. These are the type of questions that you have to ask yourself, and you have to work, to build up a relationship with that influencer so that the timing is right, that whatever you're bringing to them makes sense. Like, oh, cool, you developed a book about the 10 most haunted places in America, and I have a site about, ghost hunting or whatever like that. Sure, let's bring your resource guide, and if you can add maybe 10 more, then I can, share that with my audience or something like that. As long as, you're working in where it's a win-win situation for everybody. But that's one way to jump to the front of the line, or how to get more increases into your list, is by essentially doing joint ventures. And other ways to do is guest blogging on those influencer spots, or their platforms. Yes. So basically provide value to a community that already exists. Again, provide value to a community that already exists. And that's, these are just tactics, and nothing's easy, man. It takes forever. And, just, if you're by yourself, you're a team of one, if you're a team of like 3 people, you got to just figure out what you can realistically do with your time. But at least, there are strategies in place so that you're aware of like, okay, this is how we can increase our impact, or increase our email list, or grow our email list. So these are the types of things that you would do. I offer some consulting on my site over at filmtrooper.com/consulting. And one of the filmmakers that I had worked with, here's one of the tips that I gave her in terms of, as she's taking the next steps with her film project to deal with the marketing part of it. So I said that to her. I said, if you need to build some sort of curation on your website, and actually, Ted Hope, I remember, said this in one of his blogs. He just was recommending that every person that has a film related blog should have some sort of area in their blog that highlights or celebrates other independent film. And this is his like, soapbox of declaring to other independent filmmakers to support each other in some capacity. And one way to do that is to become a curator. And I believe that, moving forward, those who can curate well are going to be much more powerful than distribution companies right now. Because let's think about this. So audiences are going to pay for someone to organize the clutter for them. Let's think about Google. Remember? There's like all this stuff going on online and the internet, until Google came around and created like a search engine to help organize our thoughts, our searches. Look how powerful that is. Imagine if, because, there's so much media, so much independent film, so much, stuff to think about, and you don't even know what, almost like too many options is a bad thing, because you don't even know what to decide to watch on a Friday, Saturday night when it comes down to like, with your spouse, to figure out like, hey, what do you want to watch? But if you follow somebody who does a really good job at curating this information for you, you're just like, you know what? Everything that this person talks about on their blog resource, I just love. I love all the recommendations they give. And, I'm going to watch this one because I'm in alignment with their interests, their same taste. So, yes, you want to curate and you want to celebrate the films that you want to make. So that's the key thing. So for instance, I haven't done this yet because I am still building my, all the preliminary stuff for my next film. But I realized that, I've got to either joint venture with those people that are already in the space of talking about ghosts and paranormal, and then find, sites and bloggers that are already talking about like the best paranormal ghost films or something like that. Or I had to start my own, which is like, I have to celebrate films that I loved, which are leading me down this path and making my own version of the film. As you can imagine, if I had built a blog that talks about, paranormal ghost films or something like that, and I get a good traction, if I build a good email list, then you can see like, okay, somebody's curating this information. There's dialogue and there's discussion and there's debate. So, I build this email list, and the day comes when I say, hey, I'm also making my own version of this film or my own version of this genre. Um, if you know me and you like me and trust me, hopefully you'll buy my film when it's out, or, help, be an evangelist for it. So yes, so by celebrating other films in your specific niche, your audience will be ready to buy your film when you release it to them. So going back to that quote from Ryan Holiday, he wrote a book called Growth Hacker Marketing. And Mr. Holiday is a media strategist and an author. And he wrote this blog post called From Zero to 35,000, How I Built a Big Email List Exclusively About Books I Liked. And so in this blog, he talks about essentially curating books. All he did was like wrote, blogs and put an email list together where he shared with his email list like books that he liked, and people resonated with it. And not only that, he was making money off it because he provided affiliate sales through Amazon. So anybody can join up with Amazon and become an affiliate partner, where you get these very specific links to the items that they sell on Amazon, that then when you talk about it in your blog posts or whatever it might be, you provide your link to the item that you're selling. And then Amazon will give you, whatever small percentage of every sale that you make. So Ryan did this. So he was just talking about books he liked. He created an email list and was emailing people on the list of books he liked. And at the end of like all his posts, he would leave like an affiliate link, so if people liked what he talked about the book or his book review, people would buy it. And not only that, but he basically was being a salesperson. He was being an affiliate salesperson for Amazon and those authors. Now, he built an audience doing this. Again, he went from 0 to 35,000 people on this, concept alone. And the best thing is he proved his worth to a publisher, because he always knew not that he wanted to write his own book. So he knew that if he at least started an audience building program and talked about the books that he liked, he would at least be able to curate other people that had the same interests that he did. So then when it came time, he had already built the trust factor with them on his email list. When it came time to make his own book, he had a good shot of selling a large number of them. And he was able to prove that to a publisher. He says, look, I have 35,000 people or whatever on my email list, and I'm ready to write a book, and I can have direct access to them. So a publisher sees this as value. You have to make that determination for yourself as a filmmaker, whether or not you're going to go down the line of working with a distribution company, if they offer any additional value to you to get to a larger audience, or, you have the power, if you have already established that you have a big audience, whether or not the deal that they're offering is of any value, that you can say, you know what, that's not a really good enough value for me to sign over a majority of the rights to my film property to the distribution company if I've already done all the work to develop the audience. And you realize that you might actually have more power and more influence and more leverage to scale if you have more control of your audience than bringing in a third-party publisher or third-party distributor into the mix. But for Ryan, he wanted to go a traditional route and make sure that he had a publisher on board. So he has written several books since then. And so these are the books, he's written The Obstacle is the Way, Growth Hacker Marketing, and Trust Me, I'm Lying, Confessions of a Media Manipulator. And again, here's the funny thing for me, taking us a page out of Ryan's teachings, is that these links are affiliate links. So I have to disclose that. So if you use this downloaded PDF and you decide you want to buy one of these books, clicking on any one of these items here will send you to my affiliate link. So if you buy it, then I get whatever, a few pennies or something like that through Amazon. But those are things to think about in terms of an entrepreneurial mindset, or how to build your list, grow your list. But the fascinating thing about here is Ryan Holiday did it with books. He wrote about books that he liked. He created a whole email list just about talking about books he liked, and created like an affiliate sales program through it. But then he became an author himself. and he was able to sell directly to his list. And you know what? Why can't we do the same thing for our film? So that's it. Like, why can't we just be, curators of our film? Sorry, I'm bumping the microphone there. I'm gonna go back to my fat head here. Yeah. So with all that stuff said, as I run up to the 30-minute mark, I didn't want to take too much time because it's kind of a big night up here in Oregon, Portland, Oregon, because the Oregon Ducks are playing the Arizona State. I think it's, yeah, I don't know. It's the Wildcats. Anyhow, for the big game tonight. So as I wrap this up, just think about that stuff. Like, we all love films, but are we doing anything to celebrate the films that we like? If you create like a platform, a blogging platform, to very specifically in the sort of films that you like, and maybe keep it very specific to whatever genre that might be, sci-fi, horror, comedy, American comedy, or foreign comedy or something like that. So in part of my consultation session, I revealed that this filmmaker, she loved foreign films. She just had a love for them. So now she's started this blog post about celebrating foreign films, knowing that she's in the middle of producing and developing her own foreign film, with
Okay, she's coming.
oh, hey, somebody's coming in.
Hey,
Hey, how are you?
what's going on, John?
Hi, John. Nice to meet you.
Yeah,
So you got a title. I see Big Apple Film. I can't see the last part of it.
festival.
Festival. Well, we've been following each other back and forth on Twitter for a while. It's nice to meet you.
You too.
We got somebody in the bed with you? Oh, a little one.
Oh, my daughter. Yeah.
Well, it's nice to meet you.
You too. You too.
So, yeah, I was just about to wrap it up here, but I was basically just saying to people that I just think it'd be great to see everybody have their own sort of curation site or just blog platform, so that as you celebrate films that they love, always provide an affiliate link so they can make a little bit of money here and there, build their email list, build a discussion, and as they build that audience, that they know when they're making their own film, they're like, oh, guess what? I'm making my own version or my own sci-fi film or whatever it is, and then you're already in the mindset of the audience that's already built up. Like, oh, cool, yeah, what are you doing? Oh, that's cool. Like, I would love to join. You'd be surprised because people might actually help you. You might find your crew through your email list.
Yeah.
So
you think you can make money releasing a movie on Vimeo on demand?
You know what? I think that you can make money. It's all about like perspective. Like, I had this other Film Marketing Friday session that I talked about, which was the reality is for the uber independent filmmaker is that we can't play the game of volume like the way that the traditional studios do or Hollywood studios, because they're pushing out like a $5 product, really, rental or purchase, or maybe $10 product, but they need to work on volume, so they need to sell a lot of units. So how does the uber independent filmmaker compete? Well, we don't. We try to get only like taking Kevin Kelly's famous blog post, 1,000 True Fans. We're just trying to get to a place where we build 1,000 loyal true fans for the work we do, but the value of what we provide is $100 value per year, so we can make $100,000 a year per. That's the kind of rough estimate.
Oh, so you're saying a membership kind of thing?
Yeah. So what happens is that for an uber independent filmmaker, your film essentially becomes like an advertisement for something bigger. So if it's like a bigger discussion, I kind of brought up the example for the documentary "Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead" by Joe Cross, where he, just documented his journey doing a 65-day juicing fast and showing the results and showing the social implications of social change, just like healthy diet and so like that. But what happened was, he made a lot of money by selling affiliate sales to the juicing company. That turned around, and eventually they saw their sales double because of the success of that film. That you turn around.
The Juicing company?
Juicing company.
The juicing company?
Yeah, they're a juicer. So it's like you put your fruit and vegetables into the juicer. It just blends it, it crushes it, and makes this fresh juice.
Okay, so he documented himself doing that?
Yeah, so his story was he was already an Australian entrepreneur, so he was already very well business minded, but he was really overweight, taking way too many medication, and he decided to challenge himself and go on a 65-day green juicing fast, diet. And so
Hmm.
he came to America and he traveled for a month, traveling from the East Coast to the West Coast, driving around in his little rental car with this generator and this juicer in the back, and he would just talk to people about the type of diet they eat, the type of foods they eat, and then share them this juicing, what it tastes like. And in the process of doing that, he actually ended up helping and saving a life of somebody, a trucker, like a truck driver that was really overweight. And we saw in the film this transformation of both Joe and the other trucker losing all this weight.
Hmm.
So yeah, this movement. So what happens is, like, he's smart enough that when you went to his website, you can buy the juicer right there, and it went to an Amazon link, but the link was like an affiliate sales link that he, probably these juicers were like $300 a pop. So, say he made like $100 a pop or something off that, but he, because the film did well as an advertisement, he sold a lot of juicers. But at the same time, he literally doubled the sales of the juicers for this particular juicer company, that they turned around and sponsored the sequel to his film that just came out. It's called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead 2. And it talks about, and it shows more of the social revolution that this film has done in terms of the juicing boom and that kind of stuff. So that works in documentaries, but I think it
Yeah.
can work too. I think it worked too in the genre films, because I was thinking, like, hey, you could do something like that, say, like, for just straight up like a horror film, what is it? What kind of $100 value can you offer people? Maybe it's like, the film is an advertisement for like a ghost hunting venture out in like Massachusetts or something. I don't know. So you know what
Right.
I'm saying? But
Yeah.
it's things like that that begin to help the uber independent filmmaker
Mm.
see things differently, where they're like, okay, so as long as I keep the cost of my film down, very small, because all they're trying to do is provide value to that email list or that audience that they built.
Mhm.
Because the audience will tell us what they want and what they don't want, and what they're willing to accept, and you kind of just have to scale appropriately. And then
Mm.
at the same time, you're just trying to get to, a small group, like 1,000 people. If you could just get 1,000 loyal people, what you're doing, that's an easy, I'd say, should be a fairly easy enough conversation to have to see what their pain points are, or what their desires are, or what you can offer them. So it's just changing sort of.
Did he sell his juicers just online?
Yeah, so Joe, like I said, when you went to the film site, when you went to Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead,
Mhm.
before he released the sequel,
Mm.
it would have like a big picture of the juicer, and
Mhm.
like you see the trailer, and then you would say, like, there's a big buy now button for the juicer, so
Mm.
you click it and it sends you to Amazon.
Oh,
But I
that's
could I
cool.
could see that it was his affiliate link, and so.
How did he
Um,
get people to his website?
Oh, you know what? Because the film was doing well, he was able to partner with the aggregator slash distributor, Gravitas, I think, and through blogosphere. Because when people started to see the film, you can't help but watch the film and say, "Crap, man, I better start drinking some green juice,"
Wow.
or something like that. It's like,
Did he use social media and stuff to?
yeah. So social media is always a play. It's always part of the process, but um, like what I was going to show, actually, probably show you guys right now. Let me show you something like, I'm going to show you Ryan Holiday's. I mean, I was just mentioning him as part of this presentation. Sorry, let me go here. My big fat head. Okay, so I'm going to show you kind of like how this stuff works here. All right, so cool. Present to everybody. Okay, so this is Ryan Holiday. This is the guy I was talking about that just wrote the book and wrote the blog post. So you'll see on certain people's sites, even like a film site, makes a real like a copywriting headline. It's like, can you recommend any books? Of course. And you enter your email address, and this thing is like social proof. Like, hey, join the already 35,000 plus subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
And in here, you're like, well, who is this guy? So already you're in this mindset. He's like, give me your email address, and you can join this great thing, and he'll probably give you some sort of giveaway. Then he says, who else has worked with Ryan? If you click this, that sends you to his sort of marketing firm, and this is Tim Ferriss of the 4-Hour Workweek and the whole series of books. So this gives you like influencer, legitimacy. So things like that, like say if you're doing like a horror film, you'd be like, get the free resource book of like the 10 most haunted places in the East Coast or whatever it might be. And then he says, and then like maybe influencers you worked before. Maybe you have worked with the ghost hunters on sci-fi or something like that.
Yeah.
And then, you know what I mean? So then you build these. The blog is just there for people to read and get to know you better. But the way he, everything here is designed, to sell the stuff he's written. He's like, hey, I've written these books, so if you want to know more, boom, buy it on Amazon.
How does he get people to the blog?
Okay, so what it is like he started small with only like 50 people, 50 friends, but then he took the time because he wrote a guest blog. So I mentioned here about the joint venture. So he did a guest blog for Timothy Ferriss, who was already popular. He had already had a huge list of people, and so he did a guest blog for Tim Ferriss, and at the end of his guest article at the end was a call to action, like if you want to join my reading list, sign up now. So that link gave him like a couple thousand people right off the bat because he already connected with somebody who was more of an influencer. Then he said that he really made a big splash when he did the product launch of his first book, The Obstacle is the Way. So by building a product, he was able to then use a basically product launch formula, which says, hey, and use social media, because at that point you might see it already on Facebook. You might see these sponsored ads that are targeted directly to you, because if you're a filmmaker or you've already shown Facebook that you particularly like horror films or comedy films or sci-fi films, all of a sudden an ad might pop up that's very specifically geared to you that might be interest of you. Said, oh, here's 100 best ghost hunting areas in America. So you might click that, and that takes you to like a webinar or a sales pitch or something, and that by doing that you're also acquiring email addresses. And so that's how he builds his email address. And so it's a very slow process. And he's talked about like it took a couple of years, but he also note the point, he was also working for as an assistant to some from other very major influencers, so before he ventured out on his own. But if you're starting from scratch, every list that you do starts with like 0 people, like your first list has like nobody. And I'm doing the same thing for Film Trooper, and so I'll show you what I do. So I do these things for Film Marketing Fridays, and the idea is just to do this, like you just jumping on, like, hey, let's talk. What are you talking about? I got a project. What do you, just this back and forth banter. But at the end of it, all my sessions, I tried to end it with a call to action, and the call to action for me is this. As I present this to everyone real quick, okay, is this one here. So I try to come up with a copywriting headline, which is trying to hit a pain point, which is like, look, are you stuck trying to make your film? And then I say, well, get inspired. What equipment did I use to make a feature film for $500 with no crew? If you go to freegearguide.com, you can get a free equipment list of everything that I use to make this micro-budgeted film. When you get this free gear guide, you'll be signed up for all the Film Trooper newsletters. But essentially, it's like, I made this film for $500, a feature film for $500 with no crew, and I'm offering just to give away all the equipment that I used. So it's like a fun little, equipment list guide. And but I also made sure that I bought a URL, a domain that was easy to remember, such as freegearguide.com. So this is a tool that is used to try to get people onto the Film Trooper email list, so that I can continue to talk to them and give them other value in the email.
Right.
So that's sort of and I can close out of this. Hold on for a second.
Okay.
No, here. So there it is. That. But
Cool.
go back to my mug.
Mm.
But it's funny. It takes a long time. Like I say, it takes a long time to kind of find your voice. Oh, somebody else joined in. Cool, Andy. So yeah. So that's it. So there's a lot of ways. I just kind of went over real basic. But I think it's really fun that the filmmakers can look at what the book publishing industry has done. Let me unmute. Let's see. Make sure Andy's on.
Yeah.
I see him coming in, but he's muted right now. So I like what the book.
Is The Cube your movie?
Yes, The Cube is my movie. That was the movie I made for $500 with no crew.
And how'd you distribute?
I decided at the time just to try out Vimeo on Demand because Vimeo on Demand had just started. And here's other things about Vimeo on Demand that I liked at the time. One, it didn't involve dealing with any aggregators. So like if I wanted to deal with iTunes or Netflix, I would have to pay an aggregator, maybe a flat fee of like $1,500, $2,500 to get it onto those platforms. And I knew, I'm gonna be honest, I knew my film wasn't I could go I wasn't sure if I wanted to do the film festival route because I didn't think it was maybe all that worth it. You gotta know if your film was shitty enough, Sorry, I have a daughter out there.
They got a film.
Yeah. So how did you do on Vimeo on Demand?
They got a film.
I've made my money back,
They
but
got
again, it's only $500. So here's the deal. That's when I talked about the last film Marketing Friday was about volume versus value. I was trying to play the volume game. I was trying to, I needed X amount of transactions to make it worthwhile. And the reality is it's definitely correlates to what they call email marketing in terms of they call the conversion rate. So if your film gets maybe 1,000 views, right? Say you see it on YouTube, 1,000 people have seen my trailer, or on Vimeo on Demand, you say 1,000 people see my trailer. You can do about 1 to 2% of those people will actually buy your film or rent your film. So then you could do the math, the math there, and you're like, gosh, I'm only making a handful of transactions. So what we need to do is you got to increase the views, right? So you increase the views, hoping that people then buy it over time. But again, this is I made a film. Nobody knows anything about it. I did it all wrong. I didn't build an audience. It's not a very specific genre. It's a supernatural suspense film, but it's not like a true horror film. It's not a true ghost film or anything like that. So, and didn't have any stars. Didn't have any known anybody. It was just hey, some dude made a film and put it up online. So how do you drive people to that? And so Film Trooper was the marketing means just to have a platform to discuss this. And Film Trooper was created after The Cube was made in response to, what happens. You're at a film festival, and the first thing out of anybody's mouth is hey, what'd you shoot it on and what was your budget?
Yeah.
Nobody cares what your film is about. They want to know how you made it and how much it cost you, that kind of stuff. So I just jumped the gun, and that's why I created that guide that says free gear guide, what equipment did I use to make a $500 feature with no crew. And so I was just basically answering the question that people were already asking. So and that was my marketing ploy. But here's the thing, I realized that only appeases to other filmmakers. What I really need to do in this new year is to test out a different marketing platform which focuses on another group of people that are not filmmakers that maybe the film could be an enticement to.
About what?
I'm sorry, be something that entices other people that are not filmmakers, but to be much more specific to this fan base. Because filmmakers in general, I mean, that's a pretty broad fan base or genre, or not genre, or an audience to try to capture, because just because, bless you, just because they're independent filmmakers, some filmmakers like these types of directors and other people like this type of directors, so it's and on top of that, we know that majority of filmmakers can be very cynical and very trollish in their response. It's not necessarily always the most supportive community. And I believe that's the reason, because we're been built to conditioned to feel that the only way to make a film successful is to work in this very scarcity business model, which is like we only see the very few, less than 1% get rewarded. You know, they just Sherry Candler over who's independent film marketing strategist just released on her community that Sundance announced their lineup, and about less than 3% actually of submissions got accepted. So that, again, that's just sort of the natural law of things. So like, you know, how many people view your trailer, how many people are, you know, or submit to a film festival, you know, only about 1 to 3% will actually get accepted in, you know. So those are the types of things, because that still builds sort of the scarcity business model. What happens to all those other films that might be good? That's why the idea is like, that's why they're always telling us like, oh, build your audience, build your audience. Because if you have control of your audience, you know, you don't need to be like, have 100,000 transactions. Like if you only have 1,000 transactions per year, but the transactions that you are doing are worth about $100, you know, per transaction, you know, that's $100,000 per year. We just got to scale our, you know, our expectations and sort of see the world a little bit differently and see how the uber independent filmmaker kind of fit in. And so those are the types of things I'm trying to explore here with Film Marketing Fridays and Film Trooper, you know, and
okay. I got to run here. What's your website? Film Trooper?
Yeah, it's just filmtrooper.com.
All right, I'll check out your site. I'll keep in touch with you.
I love it, John. Thank you so much for joining in, and say hi to your little one.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. I'll keep in touch though.
Okay, we'll do.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye now. So, hey, Andy, I see somebody. Andy, you're on, but you're muted for some reason. I can't see how to unmute you. But if you're welcome to chat in or throw it in the chat box. But I'm going to wrap this up since we're almost here at 6 o'clock, 1 hour in, and it is a Friday. But you'll be able to everybody will be able to get this episode later as a podcast and on filmtrooper.com. Oh, here it goes. Hey, no problem. I logged in late. So that's no problem. Okay. Yeah, Andy, hit me up next time. Feel free to join in. This is the whole nice. This is the whole concept of this Film Marketing Fridays. It's because it's a live Google Hangout session. I like the idea of just people just popping in and having discussions. And maybe, you know, if you have a film project yourself you're working on, we can kind of take a look at what you're doing and discuss like the marketing realities, you know, of the world of the uber independent filmmaker. And that's about it for today. It's a lot. I'm probably talked a lot. I don't know if you got any value out of it, but if you did, let me know. Again, just go to freegearguide.com and you can get a free gift, which is my little equipment list guide for you, and you can learn more about the. Oh, cool! I did in short bursts. That's cool. Thank you. Thanks, Andy. Yes, you can learn more about Film Trooper. And other than that, I think. Oh, here we go. Oh, here we go. I'm learning. There we go. Sorry, Andy. I finally see the chat box. I'm a little slow. All right, guys. Enjoy yourselves. I hope you got some good value out of this, how to at least start building your email list, and why to build your email list, and other different strategies of how to increase the validity and value of your film projects as we move forward. And without further ado, here is the closing goodbye of Film Trooper or Film Marketing Fridays.